Assalamualaikum, my name is Arfat and welcome to a brand new video. In today's video, I'd like to share with you some of the notes in my King James Bible here. I have some of these notes I've gathered over the years throughout my throughout my days learning. And so I'd like to share with you some of these notes. First thing is about praying. There's multiple verses in the Bible that actually indicates in the New Testament that indicates Jesus praying. Okay, and so for example in Matthew 6:6, this is how Jesus actually teach to pray. Okay, when thou pray, okay, enter into thy closet, and when thou have shut thy door, I'm using the King James here, which is why I'm reading like this. Pray to thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. Okay, so Jesus is advising the Jews, okay, the Bani Israel, or at least his disciples here, okay, the people, that when you pray, do not be like the scribes, okay, do not be like the Pharisees that goes to the synagogues and then pray openly, and also do not pray like the Pharisees and the scribes at the corner of the streets so that people can see them. Jesus said, no. When you actually make salah, when you actually pray, lock the door. Make sure that no one sees you pray. Make sure that no one actually sees you pour your heart out to God alone, to thy Father. It says to your Father, which is it means God here, right? So Jesus is teaching how one should pray, but that is not my point here. Okay? My point here is that if Jesus is also God, he should have taught his disciples, when you pray, okay, pray and say, for example, when you pray, go to the corner of the street and pray to me, because I am God. Right? But Jesus never claimed that he is God anywhere. So he is saying, when you pray, when you make salah to the Father, okay, which is in the New Testament, it basically refers to God. Another note here on praying. Okay, Jesus prayed at Gethsemane. Okay, Jesus he fell on his face and he prayed. This is from Matthew 26:36. Okay. Then cometh Jesus with them unto a place called Gethsemane, and saith unto disciples, Sit ye here, while I go and pray yonder. Okay. And he took with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, and he began to be sorrowful and very heavy. Okay, very heavy here doesn't mean because before this they just ate. Alright, and so very heavy here doesn't mean that he's bloated with food. No, he's heavy because he's being sorrowful. Right, he is very anxious. Why? Because obviously, if you follow the narrative of the New Testament, he's about to die. Okay, and so he prayed, and he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed. He makes sujood. Okay, he makes sujood just like the Orthodox Christians does today. Yeah, in the Russian Orthodox as well as the Syrian Orthodox, they actually prostrate on the ground, okay, with their head fell on their face. Okay, and he said, "O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Okay, nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt, but as you will." Okay? If, for example, here Jesus is saying, Jesus is making salah, or he is prostrating, he's making sujood, and in the sujood he is making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is saying, "Oh God, if it is possible, if you want it to be this way, let this cup from me, let this cup pass from me, meaning I don't want to die. Let this trial and tribulation, pass from me. Do not afflict me with it." Okay. And a little further we go, to 26:53. Okay. Thinkest thou that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he shall presently give me more than 12 legions of angels? Okay. He's saying here, don't think that I cannot pray to my Father. Don't think that I cannot pray to God. And he will send down angels, legions, 12 legions of angels. Okay. Whether 12 here basically means like literally 12 or is a symbol of many angels, right? We don't know. Okay. And so do not think that when I pray, when I make dua to my God, okay, that he will not help me. If Jesus is God, he is able to help himself, irregardless if he is the Son, irregardless if he lost his powers and so forth. Right? He should be able to save himself instead of weeping to his Father, who is also God, but who is also himself, part of the Trinity. Right? So we have to use logic here. Next one, another verse about praying. Mark 6:46. Jesus pray at mountain. Okay. And when he had sent them away, the disciples, okay, because before this they had like people all come visit Jesus to hear him speak. And when he had sent them away, he departed into a mountain to pray. Right? We find throughout, I have more notes here, but I think you guys get the point. We find it throughout the New Testament that Jesus prayed, Jesus prayed, Jesus prayed, Jesus prayed, Jesus prayed. And if Jesus is really, really part of the Trinity, then why does he need to pray? Right? Who prays today? Human being prays today. Right? God don't pray. If Jesus is God, who is he praying to? That is the most fundamental question, right? His people will say he's praying to the Father, but why does he need to pray? Why can't he save himself? Just as the Jews, according to the New Testament, just as the Jews were questioning him. You know, if he's the Messiah, why can't he save himself? Right? How can God be so helpless, even if God is part of the Trinity? You know, even the pagan Roman concept of God, the pantheons, they're not this weak, right? For example, Romulus, if you follow, if it's if it's really the real scenario here, Romulus, people would think that Romulus is a myth, right? Irregardless, that it doesn't matter if it's a myth or not. Okay, but the point I'm trying to make here, even Romulus, the Roman god, well, Roman emperor or the founder of Rome, who was later exalted to become part of the divine entity, even he is not this weak, right? Another verse, Luke 6:12. Jesus prayed all night. Jesus make tahajjud. Right? God don't make tahajjud. Right? This is Luke 6:12. And it came to pass in those days that he went out into a mountain to pray and continued all night in prayer to God. The New Testament here is very explicit. Jesus has a God. And if Jesus has a God, this cannot be the Trinity. Because in the Trinity, the Son is also God. And the God of the Son is, well, that statement doesn't make sense because the Son doesn't have a God because he himself is God. If the Son has a God, that means the whole Trinitarian concept crumbles down. Perhaps I'll go to one more to prove my point. Well, it's not that I've not proven it already. And this is the Lord's Prayer in Luke. Okay? And it came to pass that as he was praying in a certain place, when he ceased, one of his disciples said unto him, Lord, teach us to pray, as John also taught his disciples. John the Baptist. Okay? Not John the son of Zebedee here. This verse is talking about John the Baptist. And he said unto them, When ye pray, say, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so in earth. Give us day by day our daily bread, meaning give us our sustenance. Okay? And forgive us our sins, for we also forgive everyone that is indebted to us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. This is very profound. This is how Jesus prayed. Not why would Jesus teach his disciples to pray like this, right? So this is how Jesus prayed. There's no blood sacrifice. There's no death as an atonement for the sins of many. Right? And for example, how do God forgive sins? According to Jesus here in Luke, you just need to pray. And when you pray, just say, and forgive us our sins, for we also forgive everyone that is indebted to us. But Jesus is saying, forgive us our sins. Jesus is not saying, oh, you have to accept my death as an atonement for your sin. No. This is the fundamental, this is the crux of the teachings, right? This is when the teachings if Jesus is really the part of the Trinity, this is when, apart from the other verse, right? For example, in Mark 12, if I'm quoting correctly, whereby Jesus quotes the Shema. Yeah. But here in Luke, this is the crux of Luke's gospel here, the Lord's Prayer in Luke, right? Jesus is saying this is how you should pray. Pray to your Father in heaven. Okay, but Jesus is not just saying pray to your Father. Jesus is saying pray to our Father. Right? When ye pray, say, Our Father, not my Father, not your Father, but our Father. And so this is the importance of actually reading the New Testament carefully. Even though you're reading it in English, but read it carefully. Read it critically. Be cautious with what you read. Do not let your whatever you have in your brain actually, convolute you, so that when you read a clear passage, you interpret it in something that is unclear. Right? This doesn't make sense, at least to me. Right? Why would you go to ambiguous passages, right, rather than go to a clear-cut passage and derive your theology from there? Right? For example, Jesus says, My Father is greater than I. But people would turn and try to argue for the divinity of Christ, divinity of Jesus, by saying that, before Abraham was, I am. Right? What does it mean? It is not even proper Greek or English grammar. Before Abraham was, I am. Right? When is the first I am statement, quote unquote, first I am statement being used? It is with the Samaritan woman at the well. And so when the Samaritan woman asked Jesus, right, are you the Messiah? Jesus is saying, I am. I am he. Right? Meaning I am the Messiah. Right? Clearly, I am here, and throughout all the verses in John, I am here is not the name of God, even though all the study Bibles that I've surveyed actually mention this. Right? But I am here is not a noun. Right? It is not the name. This context, it is not saying about the name of God. Right? You have to read it in context. When you read it in context, you'll not misinterpret the verse. Right? If not every passages that have the name, have the word I am, ego eimi, right, basically means God, even though it doesn't make sense in the sentence, like what I've just mentioned. Right? So you cannot just interpret one ego eimi to say, Jesus is talking about God. Because apparently, right, in the Septuagint version, there is egoemi. Egoemi is also being used at the conversation of Jesus at the Samaritan with the Samaritan woman, right? And so, um, well, I would like to turn to the Quran actually. If I can find the Quran, I'll just use this translation then. Abdullah Yusuf Ali. We'll turn to Ali Imran, chapter 3. Okay. And I'll read chapter 59, verse 59. Okay. The similitude of Jesus before Allah is as that of Adam. He created him from dust, then said to him, Be, kun, fayakun, and he was. Okay. The truth comes from Allah alone, so be not of those who doubt. If anyone disputes in this matter with you now, okay, if anyone disputes in this matter with you, now after full knowledge has come to you, say, Come, let us gather together, our sons and your sons, our woman and your woman, ourself and yourself. Then let us earnestly pray and invoke the curse of Allah on those who lie. Yeah. This is the true account. There is no God except Allah. And Allah, He is indeed the exalted in power, the wise. But if they turn back, Allah has full knowledge of those who do mischief. And then Allah is commanding the Prophet Muhammad SAW and also commanding us. Okay, say, O people of the book, okay, the Jews and the Christians, come to common terms as between us and you, that we worship none but Allah, that we associate no partners with Him, that we do not erect from among ourselves lords and patrons other than Allah. If then they turn back, you say, bear witness that we at least are Muslims, okay, bowing to Allah's will. You people of the book, why do you dispute about Abraham when the law and the gospel, the Torah and the Injil, were not revealed till after him? Have you no understanding? Okay. You are those who fell to disputing, even in matters of which you had some knowledge. But why do you dispute in matters of which you have no knowledge? It is Allah who knows, and you do not know. Right? So this is very profound. Abraham was not a Jew, nor yet a Christian, but he was true in faith and bowed his will to Allah's. Okay. And he did not join God with Allah. Okay. Without doubt, among men are nearest of kin to Abraham are those who follow him. Jesus followed Abraham. So does Moses. Okay. As are also this messenger and those who believe. Okay. And Allah is the protector of those who have faith. It is the wish of a section of the people of the book to lead you astray. Now Allah is talking about to Muslims here. But they shall lead astray not you, but themselves, yet they do not perceive. Okay. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that is very profound. How can you read a verse in the New Testament so clearly and interpret it in something that is unclear, and prefer to take the words that are unclear and and build up your entire theology based on it? Okay, and so if you have not read the Quran, I would recommend you read the Quran. Okay? The Quran is a text that actually invokes you. For example, God is always questioning you. Do you not reason? Do you not think? Even though you have no knowledge, that Allah is saying to human beings, we dispute on things that we have no knowledge. What are you doing? What are we doing? All right? And so the reason why I wanted to read from this verse, not only because it is a call, right, it is a da'wah, but also because when Christian apologists, they actually make videos saying that Jesus is God because he is called the Messiah, he is called the Son of God, he is called, he says before Abraham was I am. You know, most of the time they actually parrot. They don't even know the context of what they are just spitting verses out of their mouth, right? Whereas they have not really looked into the context. They've not looked into what other people interpret the verse, you know, and whether they have not really looked whereby those passages are ambiguous and they can be interpreted in multiple forms, all right? And they have not even looked at the Greek. They've not even looked at the language, right? I'm not saying that you should be a master of the Greek language. No, you should at least hear what scholars have to say, right? And look at the Greek, right? John 1 and 2. Right? In fact, saying John 1 and 2 is also incorrect, because the earliest manuscripts were written in unsealed script, and there were no verse numbers. Verse numbers were given by later, much later. All right, and so you cannot argue that, oh, this is part of the sentences. So this between John 1 and 2, the middle theos, right? Because John 1 and 2, you have 3 theos there, but 2 is with the definite article, and 1 is without the definite article. You know, in Greek, you do not have the indefinite article, right? So in Greek, if you want to say a noun, you should say the Jesus, right? The God, for example, right? And some people would argue that the middle theos is qualitative, meaning the word has the attributes of God. Okay, but then it can also be interpreted in a different way, right? It can also be interpreted in a way that says, whereby the middle theos here, without the definite article, right, can also be a noun, okay, but it is not a definite noun because it doesn't have a definite article, meaning it can be a god, meaning like any, because if you interpret in context, in the historical context, right, in the historical context, it is the most appropriate interpretation, because in the Hellenistic world, right, there are many different kinds of gods. We have household gods, we have gods of the farm, and so on and so forth. There's so many divine entities. We have daimonos, demiurge, whatever it is you call it, right? And so John here is saying that, you know, it is. I'm not saying John is saying, because John is not alive, right? We don't know. And in fact, if you look at, you know, some of the studies of textual criticism, this prologue of John, you know, it is a much later insertion, right? But apologists don't know this. They don't read Anchor Bible. Okay? They just go to some of these evangelical commentaries, or they just listen to what their preachers say, but they don't really research. You know, they don't really understand and care about to actually explore the literatures and to hear what other people say, right? And so, but either way, I've made videos about this actually in my Bid'un series, and I recommend that you check it out. I clearly demonstrate, through reading Bid'un's work, that the middle theos here is actually should be translated as a god, okay, and that would actually be binitarianism. Okay? But either way, I'll see you guys on my next video. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.